happy to see a group of youngsters in the Silver Surfers Club. I was telling Deepthi that I'm not far behind and I can join you all quite soon, I think, if you take your mean age. So I agree with you that age is only a number, and I've actually got a video on that in YouTube. If you go and just type Dr. V. Mohan and then age is a number, there is actually a video on that, 4-minute video, which we'll talk about. So let me get straight into the subject, living with, treating and reversing diabetes. I've got quite a lot of slides. I'll probably have to skip some of them in interest of time. That's again to just formally thank all of you all. And so this is a kind of flow of my talk. What is diabetes, magnitude of diabetes, complications, how to prevent it, is it reversible, and a few things about long-term survival of diabetes and mantras to live up to 100 years of age. Now, this is not a cliched statement. It's not rhetoric, but it's actually true, because I'll show you that we have been one of the first in the world to show that actually people can live beyond 100 years of age, and we'll come to that. So let's talk about what is diabetes. What is diabetes? Diabetes is actually high blood sugar. Many people do not know that every human being needs glucose in the body. If you don't have glucose in your blood, you will die, actually. It's as simple as that. It's like petrol in a car. If you don't have petrol in a car, the car will stop. So you need glucose, and it's this glucose which goes and gives you fuel to do all your activities, your energy, and so on. But just like petrol in a car, which can get overloaded, if you put, it gets into the wrong places, the car will actually stop. Like that, if the sugar content goes too high, then you get all the symptoms of diabetes and ultimately the complications of diabetes. So what is high? When you talk about high blood sugar, there are 3 or 4 criteria which you can use. In the fasting state, empty stomach, if you check your sugar, if it's more than 126, it is diabetes. You may say, why 126 is an odd number? It's in millimoles converted into milligrams. Abroad, they use, especially except India and US, where we use milligrams, everyone uses millimoles. 1 millimole is 18 milligrams. So 7 millimole is a cut point for diabetes. Anything below 7 is not diabetes, above 7 is diabetes. 7 into 18 is 126. So that's how this value 126 comes. But you don't need to check a fasting sugar. If just now, whether you've had tea, not had tea, had lunch, not had lunch, if you just check your sugar now, it's more than 200, most likely that you've got diabetes. The formal and the best test to diagnose is GTT test, 75 grams after glucose, 2 hours later, more than 200, it's diabetes. And then this test, which many of you will know if you have diabetes, glycated hemoglobin or sugar hemoglobin. This test, if it's more than 6.5, this can be taken at any time of the day, and it's more than 6.5%, then you've got diabetes. Any one is enough to diagnose diabetes. I'll come back to these values in a moment when I show you another table. What are the symptoms of diabetes? The common symptoms of diabetes are frequent urination, thirst, hunger, aches and pains in the limbs, weight loss despite eating a lot, itching, particularly in the genital areas, tiredness and delayed healing of wounds. But I must hasten to add that these symptoms of diabetes come only in about 40 to 50% of people. 50 to 60% of people don't have any symptoms of diabetes. Then you may say, how do they get diagnosed? They go for a routine checkup. They go to a camp, somebody checks the sugar and say, you've got 300, you're severe diabetic, or they go for a health checkup, or you go for a master health checkup, or you're joining the army, or you're going for something else. And there are hundreds of ways in which people get checked up. Sometimes because you have a family history. My father had diabetes, so let me just go and check up. And then you check up. I've had ministers come in for some of my camps and say, before I go there to talk, since you have this camp, just check my sugar. And check it and say, sir, you got 400. Me? 400? I've come as a chief guest. Yeah, but then you got diabetes. When did you check it last? Oh, I've not checked the last 10 years. Well, sir, sorry, but you've got diabetes. That's how we pick it up. So remember, don't wait for symptoms. I'll show you a graph where I can show you. If you keep waiting in diabetes, it tends to get late. So we must assume that the prevalence of diabetes is very high and everybody must be checked for diabetes. Now, I just wanted to show you this graph again. I showed you about this 126 in the fasting, 2 hours at 200 and HbA1c above 6.5. Well, normal is much lower than that. So the fasting should be less than 100. And here, instead of 200 after 2 hours after glucose, it should be 140 or below. And the HbA1c should be 5.6 or below. So what's in between this normal and diabetes? That is a condition called as pre-diabetes. You're like a cat on the wall. You can either jump this side and become normal if you have pre-diabetes, or you can jump that side and become diabetic. And that's the values in between, 100 to 125, 140 to 199, and 5.7 to 6.4. You'll understand it better if I show you this graph. Now, this is normal. I showed you less than 100, less than 140. This is diabetes, where more than 126, more than 200. And then in between is the stage of pre-diabetes. Why should we know about this pre-diabetes stage? Because if you're diagnosed here, you have an excellent opportunity to make yourself completely normal. Once you come to the stage of clinical diabetes, reversal is not so easy. I'll talk about reversal in a slide or two. You can have part reversal. If you're very lucky, you can have full reversal. But there's a stage beyond that, the stage of complications, where the eye, the kidney, heart, feet get affected. Once that gets affected, there is absolutely no reversal. You'll be lucky if you actually stay there. But the beauty is that we have such a long window of opportunity. So if we start either here, the stage of clinical diabetes, or pre-diabetes, or even earlier, we can start. Then we have so many years in which you can actually prevent the diabetes. And even after you get here, as I'm going to show you, there are people who can live up to 100 years of age, 40, 50 years, despite their diabetes, and they need not get into the stage of complications at all. Okay. What's the magnitude of diabetes? I'm not going to spend too much of time on this. Now, this is my father, Professor M. Vishwanathan. The reason I'm showing you this slide is because he was the first diabetologist of India. He started the first diabetic clinic here in Chennai at the Stanley Medical College in the year 1948, just after he finished his MBBS. And in 1971, when he had to leave Stanley due to some political reasons, he was still quite young. And at that time, he kind of induced me to get into diabetes. I wanted to become a poet and English author and literature and so on. But then he kind of persuaded me, and fathers can be quite persuasive. And so he made me take up medicine. So in 1971, I joined medicine, and at the age of 18, started working with my father, helping him to set up his private diabetic clinic. So I'm going to almost finish 50 years in this field, although I don't look that old, but I'm almost going to spend now 50 years in this particular field. Now, the reason I'm showing you this is my father used to say at that time that diabetes in Indians is a migrant Indian disease, which means that if you go in India, it's only about 2% or 1% at that time, 1970s. Whereas if you go to UK, Singapore, Malaysia, and so on, the prevalence goes up to 10%, 12%. So he used to say we have the genes, but we have not yet got diabetes. All that changed over the years when the prevalence of diabetes started going up in India. This is this time, 1970s, when I joined him. Over the years, in urban cities like Bangalore or Chennai or Hyderabad, Delhi, the prevalence of diabetes increased from 2%, steadily going up. These are different studies. Many of them are our own, where you can see today, Deepa works with me now, so she's the head of epidemiology. So today it's about 25%. When I say today, it's 2015, it's probably gone up further now. So 1/4 of anybody you test, adults above 20 years of age, actually have diabetes in cities. And in rural areas, what is 1% has become 16%. In fact, in rural Kerala today, the prevalence rates are even higher than in urban areas. Now, this is, so my father's theory, I tested it after 30 years. That time it was absolutely true. But long after his time, I tested it by collaborating with scientists in San Francisco, and shown in red are the prevalence of diabetes in Chennai, and shown in yellow is the prevalence of Indians having diabetes in San Francisco. As you can see today, the prevalence is much higher in Chennai compared to San Francisco. So the clock has gone a whole cycle now. My father would never imagine that 30, 40 years after he made that statement, the whole cycle would have reversed. And today we have more diabetes in Indians in India than Indians abroad, because they are looking after themselves. They have started exercising. This is Chennai. And if you look at age 55, so it's very relevant to the population I'm speaking to now. If you look at Bangalore, Chennai, Delhi, Hyderabad, Mumbai, Calcutta, and so on, if you take people above 55, 60 years of age, almost 50% today have at age 65, 50%, 53% have diabetes, and 20% have pre-diabetes. You saw that normal, pre-diabetes, diabetes. We had both together 73%. So I won't be surprised. I'm not going to embarrass you by asking you that I won't be surprised if 75% of those who are listening to this right now in this webinar have diabetes. And I'm not going to ask for a show of hands, because I know my statistics is right. Most of you would be having this. Now, the numbers of diabetes in India is swelling, okay? From about 72 million was 3 years ago. Today it's close to 80 million. It's going to increase to about 134 million. We're going to actually overtake China and become the #1 country in the world. It's not something to be proud of. We should not get gold medals for this, but this is something that's going to happen, because our population is going to beat China in about 2-3 years from now. 2024, I think, 2024, 25, we're going to beat China and become the largest country in the world. So why would we not have the largest number of people with diabetes? So suffice to say that this is a huge problem. 134 million is like 3 times the UK population, almost more than twice the Germany population. So that's the number of people we have with diabetes in India. And this comes from a very large study which we published in the Lancet 2 years ago, where the whole India we have surveyed, and my daughter Anjana is actually the first author of this paper, and we have shown this. I'm not going to go into that. Now let's go to complications of diabetes. Now, why are we worried about diabetes? We are worried about diabetes not because you have a little sugar and you have to cut down the sugar in your tea or coffee or avoid it. We are worried about its complications. I showed you that last column. That is the one we are worried about. And if you don't watch out, after 15, 20 years duration, you can get heart disease, feet gangrene, eye complications, kidney complications, nerve complications, and so on. Hence, prevention is the key. And that is why talks like this are very important, because it is eminently preventable. We've got thousands and thousands of patients who have no complications at all, even after 40, 50 years by good control. So can we prevent complications? Definitely yes. Now, my late wife, Rama, was an eye specialist, and she could actually, even after complications develop. Now, these are complications affecting the eye, and this is diabetic eye disease or retinopathy. She would just apply a laser into the eye and gone. All the complications are gone. So even when you come at this late stage, she was able to treat and give back the vision to people. Here is another worst case where a big blood clot in the eye, the vision had gone down to almost zero, it's 1/60. And then she does her magic with laser and it's completely cleared. Her vision has come, the patient's vision has come back. But my question I want to ask you is, do you want to take this gamble of trying to become blind and then seeing whether the doctor can make you all right, or your feet and so on, or will you prevent it? Prevention is definitely better than cure. Because once you have vision, this is how, when your vision is normal, this is how it will be. If you have blood clots, this is how it will be. It's not very pleasant. And that's why we should avoid these complications. Kidney is the leading cause, the diabetes is the leading cause of kidney disease. But again, we can detect it early today by very simple tests called microalbuminuria. And if you detect it there, you can completely reverse it. Diabetic foot. It looks quite frightening when you have ulcers such as these in the feet. This is due to thickening of the skin. You lose sensation. You walk with, with more pressure, and then you develop these ulcers. But these are all treatable. Just by good control of sugar, by treating it with mild debridement if you're able to do, and then wear proper footwear. But these are early. They look bad, but they're actually not so bad. But these are the most severe ones, okay? If you start developing gangrene like this, okay, where blackness of the toe comes and you're losing blood circulation, then it can result in an amputation. If a person comes to us in this stage, can be done. Although all the alternative medicine people will tell you, oh, I can give you one Siddha herb and make it all right and all that. Don't believe them. It's all fake news. You can't. This is dead. Gangrene means death. If something is dead, you can't bring it back to life by giving a herb. Okay, that doesn't work. But then even there, we are able to help. When, for example, this man came with a gangrene, but luckily it is superficial gangrene. You see inside the blood is there. So with this, we are able to do skin grafting, and man has got back his leg. So it is not too late. At any stage you come to us, we can still try to do something, but nobody should get into these stages at all. And this can be done by wearing proper footwear and not by not walking barefoot and so on and so forth. Heart, if you look at heart attacks, the commonest cause of heart attacks is diabetes. You can have painless heart attacks. Somebody can have a heart attack with diabetes and not even know about it. So that's why you must keep your sugar, cholesterol, and so on under control. I'll tell you about that in the end. How to prevent the complications of diabetes, that is what I'm going to talk about now. And this is very relevant to all of you. Diet forms the most important pillar in the management of diabetes. Exercise is the second most important pillar. Medicines becomes the third, and education is the fourth pillar. If these four pillars are looked after, you will not develop complications. How to take diet? Now, the first thing that we, for example, in South India would do is to have rice on our plate. So we'll have rice and sambar, rice and rasam, rice and curd, rice and this. So 3 courses, 4 courses, and so on. The correct way of eating, especially for seniors like you all, is to split your plate into 4, and the first half of that plate should be filled with vegetables. So once you fill this plate with vegetables of all different colors, as I'll show you, keep 1/4 of the plate for protein. You need protein. At this age, you definitely need protein. This can come in the form, and for non-vegetarians, can come from fish or chicken, white of the egg, and so on. For vegetarians, it comes from Bengal gram, green gram, black gram, and so on. The last quarter is reserved for rice, okay? Now, if you cut that out, then it becomes a keto diet, okay? That's not good. It's not balanced. So all that you may read, zero carb diet, you lose weight. Why should you go and lose weight at this age? It's going to make you more weak. So have little bit of carbs, but not as much as we have. Okay. These are the different vegetables you can have. They can be of different colors: white, green, yellow, orange. Include as many leafy vegetables as possible in your diet. Now, this is a kind of repetition of what I told you. Little bit of rice, more of the pulses and legumes, lots of vegetables. I'm just showing you this to show how in the modern day, we start ordering in through Swiggy or Zomato or whatever, and then you will get your pizzas and burgers and all the stuff with the deep fried, and these are all very rich in trans fats. They are all killers. Okay, they'll increase your LDL cholesterol and they make you more prone to heart attacks. Let me move on to exercise. Exercise is extremely important at any age, even more important at your age. And therefore, exercise will help to reduce cholesterol, sugar, weight, increase the good cholesterol, blood pressure, body fat, even reduce stress. So every day, at least half an hour of exercise for each and every one of you. These are foods which give you 200 calories: 3 idlis, 3 chapatis, 2 dosa, 3 vada, and 1 3/4 cups of rice. You may think, oh, so much for 200 calories? No, any one of them. Okay. So if any one of them you take, it is 200 calories. Now, just to burn that, you need to run for 12 minutes. Okay. Or you have to walk for 60 minutes. You're walking slow at your age. If you're walking very fast, it can be 30 minutes or 40 minutes. So you have to do quite a lot of exercise to burn these calories. And that is why you need to have regular exercise. I've coined what is called as the FAR principle. So what is FAR principle? Remember that exercise is not just walking, cycling, swimming. That is only aerobic. You also need the FAR. F is flexibility. At your age, very important to be able to go back a little bit, come forward a little bit, bend, and so on. This will keep your muscles, your bones, your joints in good condition. Every day, 5 to 10 minutes of flexibility early morning. Resistance training, you don't have to do this kind of big weights, but even 2 kg weight. If you're able to do a little bit of those weights, your muscles will be kept strong. Then age is only a number. Okay. Your weight depends on what you eat and what you burn. So if you're eating too much, your weight will go up. If you burn too much, your calories, your weight will go down. But you shouldn't go like this guy who is asked to take his dog for a walk. This is what he thinks is his idea of taking the dog for a walk. Okay. Dog gets exercise, car gets exercise, he doesn't get exercise. Look at these people going to 24-hour fitness center for doing exercise. What's wrong with this picture? What's wrong is there are steps here which nobody is bothering to take. They think we are paid for a fitness center and there's an escalator here. Why not we use it? You know, why not you walk up and down this? You don't even need to enter the fitness center. That is how you should look at it. Okay. 10,000 steps a day is what we recommend for you. If it's possible, you do 10,000 steps. Doesn't matter if you do only 7,000, 6,000, doesn't matter. Whatever you're able to do, but for that, without doing a morning or evening walk, you will not be able to reach that. You'll end up at 1,500 or 2,000 steps. Today, on your phone, you have these speedometers through which you can make, and whenever you make a phone call, just walk about and you'll get enough steps. Stress reduction, extremely important, and for that, meditation, yoga, recreational activities, what you're doing today by joining together social meeting and outlets and joining together and giving support to each other itself is very good. So one must live a life of moderation and do nothing in extremes. Sleep, very, very important, not only at your age, but at any age. 6 to 8 hours of sleep is recommended. If you think that with 3 hours you're doing fine, think again, because your body will not get replenished. All the stores in the body, the brain, the heart will not get the rest it needs. Over 8 hours, something is wrong. If you need 10 hours of sleep, there's something wrong. So 6 to 8 hours is generally what is recommended, but try to get into bed by 11 p.m. latest, because that is chronobiology. You're supposed to sleep at night. Okay. Now there are other things you should do, and I bring this, finding inner peace or spirituality as being very important. I'm not talking about religion here. I'm talking about spirituality. Feeling for somebody. Now when you ask me to give a talk, why should I accept? Are you paying me for it? Okay. Are you covering my time? Nothing. Do I know you all at all? I don't even know you all. But why do I accept? Because that is my spirituality. By reaching out to you all, if 100 people have joined, if I meet 100 people feel better, I get inner peace. I get inner satisfaction. And that's very good. And each one of you can try to do that, either by finding a hobby or helping each other. Okay. If you, three slides about COVID, because it is very important. First thing is, Remember, this too shall pass. Don't think I'm in a 70 plus category, therefore I'm definitely going to die. Not necessary at all, and I'll tell you why. Okay, first thing is don't panic. Panic, fear, and depression will kill more people in India than COVID-19. Am I just being nice to you all because of that? No, I'll tell you facts which others don't tell you. Now, this is as on September 25th. The number of cases in India today is 5.8 million. Now that sounds like a lot, 58 lakhs. But compare it with India's population is 1.366 billion, and then you can work out the maths. The infection rate is only 0.04%. So far, 6 months, 0.04% of our population has got affected. That means 99.996% of population has not been infected. You may say these numbers are wrong. I agree. What do you want to multiply by? 10? Multiply by 10. Remove 1 0. Multiply by 100. Okay. Remove 1 more 0. It's still 0.4%. So 99% of people in India still haven't got it. So don't think that you're going to get it tomorrow. Okay. If you get it, 80% are mild asymptomatic. Only 10% gets admitted to hospital. 5% enter ICU. Less than 1% die. In India, they say 1.5%, but that's the known cases. Unknown cases are far more. So according to CDC Atlanta, only 0.2% of people actually die of those who get it. So if you get it, which is very rare, only 0.2% will die. Of course, at age 70, the death rate may not be 0.2%. I must be honest, it may be 1%, 2%. So 100 people get it who are old, 1 or 2 will die. Okay. But imagine at that age group anyway, people die. What is India's lifespan? It's 67 years for males and 69 for females. If your mean age is 70, you already crossed that. Okay, I'm not saying that you should not live up to 100. I'm saying people with diabetes should live up to 100. But you already crossed the mean age of India. Okay, so if one more disease comes, if it is not this, but influenza came, how do we know at age which disease will take us? So we are ready for that. We are ready for that, but only thing we'll take precautions for that. Now let's look at the death rates. The actual number of people who have died as of 25th of September is 92,000 as of yesterday. This is the official figures. Now, death rates cannot be much higher than what we are reporting. Where are the dead bodies? Are you finding the streets full of dead bodies? That's not going to happen, So it may be wrong. Maybe it's double. Maybe it's 200,000, not 80,000, not 90,000. Okay. If you look at the death rate of the percentage of population who died due to COVID, you keep hearing SP Balsubrahmanyam died, somebody died, somebody died. It's true. They did die. No doubt about it. But what is the percentage of people who died? It's 0.0006%. So 99.99994% of people did not die due to COVID. Okay. So what did they die due to? They died due to other causes. They died due to diabetes, tuberculosis, hypertension, heart disease, cancer. Those are the real killers in the country, not COVID. COVID will come, COVID will go. Next year, there'll be no COVID. Okay. We have got other problems to worry about and not COVID. Yet people are committing suicide thinking that they'll get COVID. That's why I'm telling you, don't worry. Nothing is going to happen to you. Okay. Now, I just wanted to show you a couple of things. This glucometer, all of you will know for diabetes, measuring blood sugar. But something else I wanted to show you was, this is what is called as the CGMS, which helps to measure your blood glucose throughout the day. The next graph is probably better. Today, we have got a small patch like this. It's like a small sensor. You wear it on your arm. There are other methods. You can get it on your watch. You can get it on your abdomen. You can wear it. But this is the simplest. It's called the Freestyle Abbott, where you just put it on your arm. Just apply it like that. Then you can get graphs throughout the day. For example, when this patient came, now the gray shaded area here, this is where the normal blood sugar should be. This actual report of a patient who came to me. You can see that the time and target throughout the day, 24 hours if you take, was 0% when this patient came to me. Gradually, 5 days after I started treating, 19%, 60, 62, 99%, 100%. You can see on September 3rd, there is on September 15th, 2015, this is the 100% is under control. Okay. Next week, I put one more graph to see whether it's going low or not. And you can see that 98%, 100, 100, 100, 100, 96, 98, 100% is under control. So this is another way of assessing the sugar, apart from the fasting, apart from the postprandial, apart from the HbA1c. Very neat method. Just wear it in a day. It will give you 100 blood sugars without taking one drop of blood. It's a fantastic thing. So today we have 4 ways to assess blood sugar. One is the fasting blood sugar. Second is postprandial blood sugar. HbA1c should be less than 7%. And the time in range, at least 70% of the day should be under control. Now, some of you ask me, is diabetes reversible? So a couple of words about that. Well, normally we say I showed you first stage, second stage, third stage, and after that I showed only part reversible. So it is definitely treatable. It's not curable in most cases. It's not reversible in many cases, but it is reversible in some cases. For example, if you're diagnosed early, you can reverse it here and you can reverse it there. And here are some examples of reversal. Post-gestational diabetes. You get diabetes during pregnancy, it's called gestational diabetes. The lady delivers and the next day there's no diabetes. That's a reversal. Bariatric surgery. If you do bariatric surgery, remove all the excess fat in the body, you reduce 30, 40 kilos in weight, you can do that. Severe weight loss with severe caloric restriction can lead to reversal of diabetes. It's not necessary after a certain age. As long as you keep it under control, that is fine. Stress-induced diabetes. Stress goes away, it can come. Drug-induced. Today I'm seeing due to steroid-induced due to COVID. We are giving massive dose of steroid. They get diabetes. After 1 month, when the steroid is stopped, it goes away. So these are all examples of reversal. What we have found with bariatric surgery also, if the duration of diabetes is less than 8.5 years, this is a PhD thesis. I just finished correcting that thesis of Dr. Chandru. He is who's submitting his PhD, is my doctor, and he's also my PhD student. So he is one of my students and is my PhD student. So if you have diabetes less than 8.5 years, you can reverse it after bariatric surgery. After 20 years of diabetes, you cannot reverse even by bariatric surgery. Okay. Now, this is a fact I want you to know. Type 2 diabetes is caused by 1 gram of fat inside your pancreas, just 1 gram. But if you want to get rid of that 1 gram of fat, you have to lose 15 kilos. If you lose 15 kilos, that 1 gram will go, and then you can reverse your diabetes. So it's not easy to reverse diabetes. If you really put your mind to it, you can do it. Okay. Now I'm going to talk about 2 other things before I take questions. One is long-term survival of diabetes possible? We are constantly taught that those who have diabetes lose 7 years of their life. This is statistics from UK, from Canada, from US, from India. Even our own studies have shown that. Having shown that and everybody believing that, what happened was that in 2013, I published the world's first report of long-term, so this is in the American journal, that American award which I got, the Harold Rifkin, was given for this, because I was the first in the world to show 40-year and 50-year survival of people with diabetes. The editor got so excited, he came to India to see me. He said, I must see you. Who's this guy who did this, you know? And then he happened to be in the selection committee. So they nominated me for this award and gave me this award. Nobody in the world has shown this. So what I did was, I'm just going to show you how they survived. Now, if you look at, these are the survivors in white. Look at their A1C, less than 7.6, large number of them, whereas the non-survivors did not have it. Non-survivors who died before 40 years of diabetes, before 40 years of duration of diabetes. Look at the poor control, HbA1c more than 10.5. All the non-survivors are there. Only 11% of survivors are there. So obviously good control of diabetes is important. Good control of LDL cholesterol. The cholesterol is very important. Don't believe all the fake news which comes in WhatsApp saying statin is a bogus, American some association, heart association said cholesterol is a bogus, pharma companies are doing this. Oh my God, I just can't get over these false and fake news coming and people forwarding, as if, you know, all doctors are crooks and all doctors are, you know, it's all fake, all put in by all kinds of people who know nothing. Okay, here we are showing you proof that if your cholesterol is under control, you survive. Okay, now that is fine. That is only in relation to the duration of diabetes. What about the actual age? Okay, can people live above 90 years of age? I was in a meeting of the top, you know, 5 or 10 scientists and diabetologists in the world. We're sitting in one forum, and I was, you know, moderating the whole session. They had people from UK, Australia. They've taken the best in the world, best 5 or 8 people who are on the dais, and I was conducting the whole thing. And then when I finished, I said, we got 5 minutes, you know. I just want to ask you guys, how many patients you've seen above 90 years of age? They're joking, 90 years of age? 2, 3, 4. So everybody is saying 2, 3, 4. I have not seen any. Okay. I said, you know what? I've got more than 300, you know, patients. They said, hey, you should publish this. I said, definitely I'm going to publish. Just checking whether I'm making a fool of myself or not. No. You'll be the first in the world. So I publish this. Clinical profile of patients above 90 years of age. This is published earlier this year. Okay, 2020. Again, in American journal. This is the first report in the world. I'm saying India's life expectancy is less than 70 years without diabetes. And here are people above 90 years with diabetes. Okay, I'm breaking all records by showing that. That's because I have 400,000 patients. I'm able to pick up all these patients and then show that. Okay, and here are a group of them. Okay, there's a group of people who have all completed 90 years. I gave them a Victory Over Diabetes award. This is a small number of people who came. For example, Dr. Irene Lobo here, she's a professor of anatomy. And so she she sang that day. So she said, Mike, she said, Mike, I don't need a mic. She said, and then she opened out, She said, I'm a choir singer. I can sing. I don't need a mic. This man, Chitti Babu, was the vice chancellor of 3 universities. He crossed 100 years of age and then died peacefully. This man was a former chief secretary of Tamil Nadu. He has worked with 3 chief ministers and 3 prime ministers. He was in Delhi for some time. He worked with 3 prime ministers. He worked with 3 chief ministers. At the age of 97 last year, he wrote a book. He's still there. Okay. He's 97, 98 now. He's still writing books at the age of 97. All these people are above 90 years. Can you imagine that they're all above 90 years of age and they're all doing well? And this is just a cross section of people. So here I am actually showing you that people can live beyond 90 years of age. So what are my mantras? I'm going to stop. What mantras did I learn from these people? I have not lived up to above 90, so I have to take the mantras from them. First is detect diabetes early. Keep sugar, BP, lipids under control. The first 10 years are very important. If you control first 10 years, you'll do well. If you miss the first 10 years, you miss the bus. Reduce stress, exercise, eat. That's what I told you. Eat reasonably. Then ask them to come for checkup every 3 to 4 months. You should come. So if you all have diabetes, you're not going for a checkup, please do. Because that's a secret to live long. From day one, help them to keep their ABC under control. What is ABC? A1C, blood pressure, cholesterol. If one follows these mantras, even people with diabetes can live up to 100 years. And a well-disciplined and controlled person with diabetes is often better and healthier than one without diabetes. My father actually told me this, and I used to argue with him when I was a student and said, all this rhetoric you keep for your platform talk, this is not correct. I said, today I know he's right. Because these are people who go regularly for checkups, and therefore they look after their health, and therefore they become better than people without diabetes. So to conclude, ladies and gentlemen, diabetes become a huge health problem in India. Diabetes is reversible in early stages. By good controlled diabetes, all complications be avoided. One can have a long and healthy life despite diabetes. Many of my patients are approaching or already crossed their 100th birthday, and they are doing fine. And this comes to you from our headquarters in Chennai at Gopalapuram. And that's a network of 48 branches all over India. That's our contact details. And I've sent this to Deepthi, so she can share it with you. That's our presence in social media. I know some of you are very actively following me. In fact, I've got a Facebook Live program going live at 7, where I'm interviewing a girl from Pune, Nupur Lalwani. She is 33 years old, got diabetes at 8 years of age. She's now 33, 25 years. She runs marathons and ultra marathons. She's a certified pump educator. Okay, her HbA1c is 5.5, like a non-diabetic person, and amazing girl. So all this comes through our social media. So my personal channels are here. You just type Dr. V. Mohan in YouTube and you'll get all my videos, or Twitter, or Instagram, or LinkedIn, or Facebook. Okay, join me there. Then you can be in touch with me every day. Because every day I put out some positive message like what I've been talking today. And these are our centers thing. They generally reflect what I say, but there may be additional information coming through our center. So if you put Dr. Mohan's diabetes, then you'll get the same things from the center as well. And I want to end with this by saying that these are some of my videos, how you can check sugar throughout the day. That's crossed 1 lakh views. Recently, there's something about metformin. Some of you may be on metformin. So I released a video saying that metformin is very safe. It's a contamination in metformin made by some cheap companies, which are bad. So that video became very popular. It's crossed 1 million views already. And this is another 100-year person. If you listen to his video, he talks in Tamil, but we've got English subtitles. He says, I'm not old. Don't call me old. I'm only 100. Okay. And I'm still so strong. And I want to live for many, many more years. And I'm in the pink of health. I've already finished 40 years of diabetes. And I've got a long way to go, he says. Amazing guy. And I put a photo of him, tying a thing on his wife recently for Varalakshmi Nombar. That got like 18,000 likes or something it got. We are so popular with that. So let me stop there, and now we can take questions. Deepthi, over to you.
Thank you so much, Doctor, for that quick presentation on diabetes. I know you have another session to go to after this.
No, we'll have some time. No problem. We've got at least 20 minutes, so 25 minutes.
I'm going to go straight into the questions.
Yeah.
The first one is from Hamsa, who says, I was diabetic. My sugar levels always more than 250 mg. I started to do pranayama and Surya Namaskar, and I can't believe it's now below 100. And it's reversible, but it is good to stop medication, or should she continue her routine?
If you have reverse diabetes, there is no need to continue medication. In fact, If you continue medication, you'll get low sugar. So of course, your doctor is the best person to tell you on a, in a chat like this. I cannot tell you stop medication, take medication. I have to study your reports. If you send them to me, I'd be very happy to. If you talk to Dr. Emma, she'll probably put you in touch with me or through Deepti. And so if your levels have really become normal, remember that you may not need medication. But you remember that graph I showed you? The graph goes both ways. You would have seen one arrow, yellow arrow going that way, and the blue arrow going this way. So diabetes is a dynamic disease. Once you've got over it, again you put on weight, again some stress comes, again it can come back. It's not like you're cured. TB, you've taken treatment, cured, finished. Okay, heart attack, you've done a bypass, you're finished. It's not like that. So diabetes is a dynamic thing. So be careful. Many people think after bariatric surgery, it's gone. Suddenly they come back after 5 years and they got severe diabetes. So be careful. But what you have done with pranayama and yoga is something fantastic. I missed my slides on yoga and pranayama, and then I cut out a lot of slides to finish in time. So I'm a great believer. I do pranayama every single day, 365 days I do it. And therefore, I mentioned the flexibility part, but I didn't mention the pranayama part. So pranayama is extremely good, and every one of you should do yoga and pranayama, at least the pranayama part you should do. So if you have reversed it, well and good, but watch out for it, because it may always come back. And if it comes back suddenly, an urinary infection come or some other infection will come. So keep watching your sugars. And if you need to continue medicines, don't be afraid about taking medicines. After 50 years, my patients who survive for 50 years, they've all been taking medication. Till now, 50 years, 100 years, their age is crossed, still they're taking medication and they're doing fine. So there's nothing wrong. Again, fake news will come in. Oh, you take this, your kidney will go. You take medicine, you'll get cancer. You take medicine, you'll get... I don't know, people have no other work but to write all fish. They've not published a single paper in their lives, and they keep on having the guts to write all nonsense and confuse people. So let me tell you, if the medicines are taken properly, there are no side effects of these medicines.
Absolutely. Thank you, Doctor. Bajori Fernandez says, isn't the rise in the numbers of diabetics partly due to the lowering of the limits by the
That's the next fake news. That's the next fake news. And I wrote about this in the Hindu. I wrote an article about all these fake news in an open-ed column. So what they'll say is there's actually no increase in diabetes at all. Every year, these pharma companies will reduce the level, and then they'll make you all diabetic. I am part of every WHO committee which is responsible for deciding the blood sugar levels for the last 35 years. We are a WHO collaborating center. So in every meeting in Geneva where this is decided, I'll be one of the 6 or 7 people sitting there and doing that. I'll be representing Asia, China, India, I'll be representing, and then other countries are represented. For the last 35 years, there's been no lowering of 1 milligram of blood sugar. That's the truth. But when people, they've been told a million times, oh, they're lowered. People are fasting 100, they made it. I just showed you the values, that 126 and the 200 that per cut point for GTT was fixed in 1979. 1979. Since then, it has not been changed. Even 1 milligram has not been changed. I don't know how people can lie like this and get away. But the problem is they convince everyone, again, back and forth. You yourself would have, forward it to 100 people when you see this. Oh, doctors are all fraud. Doctors are lowering, making it like that, No, absolutely untrue. That is not true. No lowering of blood glucose. Why would we lower the blood sugar of everyone and make everybody diabetic? It's silly. Then I'll also become diabetic. No? Everybody will become diabetic. Okay.
Okay, over to the next question. This comes from Arun Malhotra. Would you suggest for OL's IDDM patients purchasing a Freestyle Libre Pro glucose monitoring system for an accurate check of glucose? Any idea what it costs, and can your establishment help us purchase the kit?
Yeah, what I showed just now, that patch, that is the Freestyle Libre Pro, and I'm sure many of you are hearing this have already, put this on yourself. We have 5 branches in Bangalore. Through that, if you're based in Bangalore, otherwise tell me which city you're based, and I can arrange for you to have it done. It's extremely simple. The sensor is quite inexpensive. For the number of blood tests it gives you in a day, 100 readings in a day. For 14 days, it gives you a complete profile, the graph which I showed you just now. So we can help you to get it done. So that's called Libre Pro. And in Libre Pro, it is blinded. You don't know the sugars. And only after 2 weeks, we'll give you the reading. But starting November 1st, hopefully November 1st, because we're having the meeting to decide that. The launch of the Libre is going to come. Once you get the Libre, then you can check your own sugars with on your phone or on a reader, which you can get. And that is also going to be launched on November 1st. As you said, as you asked, Arun Malhotra, this is for people with type 1 diabetes, because their blood sugars are like Nupur Lalwani, whom I'm going to interview at 7 o'clock. The sugars keep going up and down, up and down, up and down, day by day, minute to minute is going up. Unless they check their blood sugar, they cannot eat. They cannot even decide what to eat. They cannot decide what insulin to take. They're taking insulin 4 times a day. And instead of checking 4 times, 5 times a day blood sugar, they can just see without poking, they can do that. For such patients, I recommend that this Libre is fixed even permanently. They can, in 2 weeks, put another one, take it out, put it. It's a life-changing thing for them. This Nupur Lalwani is her her HbA1c is 5.5. I'm ashamed. I'm not having diabetes, but she's lower than me now with all the insulin and pump and everything that she's taking. Only because she's applying this. She'll be showing it today on the Facebook Live. How she wears it and so on. So for such patients, it is recommended. For others, I recommend it. You wear it once. Then if there's any problem after 6 months, 1 year, you wear it once again. So technology can be used as needed. It's not that every time you have to keep on putting this. It's not needed, because there is a cost to it. It's not that expensive. The sensor costs about 2,000 rupees. So it's not all that expensive. Once in a way, you can always have it
All right. Sushil Basin says, I'm 70 with one kidney since birth. I have no BP, cholesterol, feet very sensitive, and retina in perfect shape. Have diabetes for 27 years now, on insulin after 25 years on tablets. Can I reverse diabetes?
You can reverse diabetes, but at your age, as I said, reversing will mean a lot of weight reduction and things like that. In any case, with one kidney, you have to be very careful, because you have only 50% of the total kidney function. So it's very important to keep your sugars under control. So if you keep your sugars under control, I've had many people with one kidney who did not even know they had one kidney. They will come. I recently had a man who's 55 years old. He came and I did ultrasound. There's one kidney only is there. And he said, "You mean to say my whole life I lived with one kidney? I said, have you ever done an ultrasound before?" He said, "No." I said, "Well, you have only one kidney. From birth, you're having one kidney. You didn't even know it. So that's good. And yet your kidney function is good. You can live with one kidney. If you cannot live with one kidney, how can you donate a kidney? People are donating kidney to their children or to a close relative for a kidney transplant, isn't it? So with 50% of your kidney, with one kidney, you can still live, but you have to be careful, because you have only one. So you should not smoke, you should not take painkillers, you should not take anything to damage your kidney, prevent infections, drink plenty of water. If you do all those things, you're fine. So you can reverse diabetes, but don't be too much focused on reversing diabetes. Be more focused on living up to 100 with good life. That is more important than reversing your diabetes. People who reverse diabetes after 6 months, they go back again, because that's all fad diets, keto diet, this diet, paleo diet, this diet, intermittent fasting. So every week they'll read something, and then they'll do that for the next 6 months, converting everyone they see around, saying this is the best thing you did. Intermittent fasting, 16-hour fast, 18-hour fast, 24-hour fast. Did God ever ask you to fast? Show me in the Quran, show me in Bhagavad Gita, you show me in the Bible where it's written fast. Go and fast and come. God never told you that, And human beings are meant to eat. Something you're supposed to eat at different times. If you think fasting is helping you by skipping your lunch, you feel much better, do it. Nobody is telling you not to do it. But don't think that's the end all. Or if I skip and make it intermittent fasting for a whole day, I don't eat. If you're doing it for some other purpose, religious purpose, spiritual purpose, go ahead. That's your karma. It's your, dharma. You want to do it. It's your sadhana. Please do it. But don't do it thinking that's the healthiest thing in the world. Human beings are meant to eat small quantities of food at different times. That's my take, especially at older age group, because your immunity will go down. If your immunity goes down, you'll actually miss out on essential vitamins and minerals in very bad shape. And even this extreme calorie restriction, 600 calorie, 800 calorie to lose weight to reverse diabetes can kill you, because you can lose some essential amino acids. It will produce irregularities of the heart and so on. Unless you do it under strict medical supervision, you should not do it. And certainly not for older people. These are for younger people. Older people, eat sensibly, eat some fruit, eat some vegetable, eat natural foods, don't eat processed foods, don't eat all the junk foods, drink plenty of water, sleep in time, walk half an hour. You don't have to now go and do marathon now, okay, at your age. You walk for half an hour, 45 minutes, do it regularly, take everything in moderation, and you can live out your life. None of those people whom I showed you, 90 years old, they were athletes. None of them, are strict diet and never ate one sweet in their life. Many of them still eat little sweets. Okay. But they've all done in moderation, they have done it and they've lived their lives.
So basically nothing extreme. However, having said that, Sushil is a marathon runner who's
Great.
won over 100 kilometers, and don't ask me, huge
Excellent,
distances.
excellent. So I'm not saying you shouldn't do it. If you're already been doing it and if you're very good, continue to do it. I know people at 90 who are running a marathon. So if you're into that and if you're already doing it, please go ahead. I'm not going to tell you stop and say, no, no, you're old, don't run marathon. If you're doing it, do it. Nupur Lalwani with type 1 diabetes is running ultra marathon, So how is she doing it? With her insulin and she has to eat, she has to think, still she's doing it, no? So if you're able to do it, your body is conditioned, you're trained, go ahead. Nothing wrong. But seeing that person do it, if all of you now start trying to do it, well, it'll take you time. The next 5 years, you're trained for the marathon. If you're really committed that much, go ahead. If that's your passion, you want to run the marathon, do it. Nobody is going to stop you. Nobody should stop you from doing anything. You want to learn I'm now 75 years old, but now I want to learn Sanskrit. Go ahead, learn Sanskrit. Nothing wrong. I don't know a word of Hindi. I'm still waiting to learn Hindi. Okay. I said, okay, when I reach 70, I'll probably learn Hindi. Okay. That's one of my aims of to learn one national language I don't know. Because I live in Tamil Nadu where Hindi has never been taught. There's no Hindi at all. So there's no chance for me to learn Hindi. I'm still thinking, I still got time. I can learn. I was not on the social media. Can you beat it? I didn't know what is Facebook till February, March. Twitter, raising some birds, Twitter and all I've heard, but not anything else. Now, every day I'm on Twitter, every day I'm on thing. I found that nice and therefore I'm doing it.
Great, doctor. We have lots of questions coming in, so we're going to rush.
A few more minutes. Go on. Yeah.
This is from Ponatpur Murthy, who says, does eating wheat, which contains gluten, increase blood glucose level? I'm a diabetic taking statins for lipid control. Does taking statins increase blood sugar level? He continues to ask, does intermittent fasting, is it good for senior citizens? And what about increasing proteins and reducing carbs? Will it help?
So I'll take them in the reverse order. So proteins and carbs, 100%, it's very good. So I already showed you that graph, that plate I showed you. Protein, one section should be there for protein. I showed you how vegetables should be half the plate and only quarter the plate for carbs. That's exactly what you're asking me. So yes, you must include protein with every meal, provided you can digest it. This grams and pulses, a lot of gas trouble and it's very difficult. Cut it down. In fact, the other day I was, one of the reasons why I actually postponed the last meeting was I was not well. Then I realized I'm eating too much of protein and I'm not able to digest it. I was eating 4 egg whites in the morning, 4 egg whites in the night because some dietitian told me, you can increase it, sir. You are pure vegetarian, only this white of egg you have got. So you please take this, I started taking it. I was not feeling hungry any time because all the time I'm eating protein. Then I realized I'm overdoing it. I just cut it down to half. I'm fine now. Okay. Your body knows how much to do. That's one. Intermittent fasting, if that is what you think is helping you, I'm not stopping you from doing intermittent fasting. In fact, there's a certain merit in probably skipping one meal and allowing the digestive juices to come up. I feel nice sometimes if I skip one meal. So it is good. But should you do it every day? Should you do it for health purposes? It's still not been proven beyond doubt. So let's wait. Don't get onto it like a crash or a fad diet. You may actually do more harm. Eat what your body tells you to eat, and then that should be fine. Statin producing diabetes is a very, very, very rare cause of diabetes. I can't say it doesn't produce, but that is overdose of statin. See, the statins we normally prescribe is 10 milligram, 20 milligram. If you take 80 milligram statin for a long time, some increase in sugar can come. But I told you that at age 60, 65, already 50% of people are having diabetes and 25% are having pre-diabetes. Already 75%. That's not due to statin use. No, all of them didn't take statin to get diabetes. Age itself is an irreversible factor. So statin, if your doctor tells you to take in the dose that you're supposed to take, you take it. Again, like social media will tell you, oh, statin will produce this, statin will produce Alzheimer's, statin will produce this, statin will produce this, statin will produce anything. Statin has saved much, much more lives than it has ever produced any side effects. Occasionally, statin produces muscle pain. That is quite common. And 1 in 1,000, 2,000 people have muscle pain. You can lower the dose, stop it, change the statin, or stop the statin completely. So except that, it doesn't produce any other major side effect.
Okay, Nandini says she had severe acidity with metformin.
Metformin.
Metformin. Okay.
Yeah. And then metformin does produce gastritis. So there are a couple of ways of getting over it. Number one is take it after food. If you take metformin after food, then you may not get the gastritis. Some people are very sensitive to metformin. So if it is really even after food, you're not able to tolerate, you can take something to prevent the gastritis. There is rabiprazole or omeprazole or pantoprazole or no, ranitidine or any one of those. If it helps you, you can help. Still not suiting you, throw it off. There are other drugs. We can give you other drugs to take care of it. Don't worry about the cancer part of it. Metformin is actually an anti-cancer drug. It's being used by oncologists to prevent cancer. There was some contamination during this COVID time. Some cheap companies got in and they started producing it indiscriminately using some cheap methods. So one of those additives that they used had some thing which may produce cancer, never been shown to produce cancer. One of those carcinogenic things were added in that. So FDA said withdraw it and so on. No human report of cancer, even one has been reported so far. So 2 or 3 companies had to withdraw. The real good companies, there that NDMA level, that one which produces a cancer, they have 0. They don't have it. I've got the reports in front of me. So you can continue to take metformin. You don't have to worry about it.
And what are these
not suiting you, you reduce the dose. Sorry?
Sorry, what are these companies you're referring to, the good companies?
The good USV, for example, the largest supplier of metformin, even to the United States, 50% of the entire US market is supplied from USV from Bombay. And their level of this NDMA is 0. They've got FDA proved thing that they have 0. They've never had anything from FDA and so on. Some of the smaller suppliers, generic people, they do it with cheap methods to reduce the cost. That is how it gets into problem. The cheaper, see, remember anything cheap, you know, there is a string attached to that. Nothing comes cheap in life. If you want quality, you have to pay for it. Okay. So if you get this cheaper and cheaper you go. In fact, I found somebody sending me a message saying, when your doctor writes a product, don't buy it. You Google, and then you find out the same thing you will find for 10 rupees, 5 rupees, 3 rupees, 1 rupee also will be there. Go for the 1 rupee one. Your doctor is trying to make 9 rupees out of that. Doctor doesn't get anything out of that. Okay, the pharma company gets it. Unless I'm making my own pharma company, I won't get even 1 rupee out of it. So whether you buy the 1 rupee one or you buy the 10 rupee one doesn't make any difference to me. I am writing the good one to give you the good quality. If you think, no, you're being very clever and you can use a 1 rupee one, use it. In fact, in every prescription of ours, we'll write at the bottom, you can take any generic drug of your choice. This is my prescription for you. You take anything you want. It's a free world, democratic country. You can take whatever you want. So people are thinking they're being very, very clever. One fellow even writes on WhatsApp, you know, don't believe your doctor. You Google and then you find out which is the cheapest and then you take that. That is the best one to take it. Now, what they assume is that everybody else is a fool, except this fellow who types. Every other fellow in the world is a fool. Okay, we are all fools. But he's a clever guy who knows that the tablet for 1 rupee. I also know the tablet for 1 rupee. You want the 1 rupee tablet? I'll give it to you. No problem. Take it and go. Don't blame me if something happens to you. Okay. So there is for everything in life, there is a quality. You know, when you pay for quality, you pay. It's your own life. What are you earning for? What are you living for? To look after yourself, to get the NDMA level after paying the 1 rupee and get cancer. That is why you want to take that 1 rupee. I mean, it's a choice. It's a choice that we all make.
Okay, great. The next question is it true that the HB 180 for us seniors is relaxed to say 7? That's from Uma Pai. And Nalini continues to say, but insurance companies still see red if it is above 6.25.
Oh, that's not true. 6.25 and all is nothing. 7 is the cut point for anyone at any age. For older people, we do give concessions. Absolutely. Because we don't say everyone should be at 7. You think all my 80, 90-year-old people are all having 6.5 HbA1c? No. Many of them have 7.5. It all depends on, suppose you have a heart problem, suppose you had a stroke, suppose you had something else. We'll say, no, you're over treating it. So that is what we call as de-intensifying of treatment. If you take my case sheets, I would have written on top itself, de-intensified treatment. We are going too much. Sometimes I'll find somebody coming with HbA1c 5.8. I'll say 5.8 for this man, it's too low. Come on, relax, take off on medicine, let it go up a little bit. So we are also, you know, being in this field for 50 years, give us a little bit of credit for having known after 500,000 patients, something about diabetes we would have learned. I'm not saying I know everything. Little bit we know, little bit of common sense we have learned after 50 years being in the field. You know, little more than the fake fellow who writes in social media was not seen even one case of diabetes. You know, little more than him at least I should know. So yes, definitely true that when you have a certain age group, we will relax it. For children below 4 years, 5 years, 1-year-old child, no, make it 6.5, make it 5.5. Even if it's 8, I'll say it's fine. Child, leave it. Child is still growing. Brain is not yet developed. Why do you want to produce low sugar? So we are also conscious of this. And so we will give little relaxation for older people, especially if they have comorbidities. They have blood pressure or they have heart disease or some other problem.
Okay. Majority says how many meals and with what time gaps should be taken per day? Small meals or few bigger meals? Which is better?
I already said that I prefer small, frequent feeds being good, not a very heavy breakfast, but a light breakfast, a light lunch. If you want something for tea, you can have it. Otherwise, you can skip it and go for your dinner. Again, have a light dinner so that you can digest well and then go. That's the way nature actually designed us to take, and that's how we should do it. If for some reason your pattern is different and you find, I find many of my colleagues abroad, they have an apple for lunch. That's it. They'll have their breakfast, come home, but they have supper at 6 o'clock. They'll come home and have supper at 6. All they'll have at lunch is an apple. They don't even take a lunch break. They'll just go to eat their apple, and they're done. Their lunch. That's how they've got used to it. That's fine. Your body is adjusted to that. There is no hard and fast rule. For every one of you in this room, the pattern may be different. So I cannot say, for Sushil Basin, this is what it should be. For Colonel Arun, this is what you should eat. Colonel Arun will decide what suits his body. Okay. He'll say, no, I prefer taking, if I take this, it gives me stomach upset, so I can't take it. I'll say, no, tomato is very good. No, but if I take tomato, I have kidney stone. Okay, then you avoid tomato. You take something else, So it is all individualized. For every single person, we'll be able to say, this is good for you, that is good for you. For somebody else say, this is chicken is good. No, but I'm pure vegetarian. Okay, then chicken is out. Then you take this, this is good for you. Somebody takes some other vegetable that gets diarrhea with it. Oh, then that vegetable you don't. You take this vegetable, So like this, it is individualized. We never have a printed diet sheet. We have never given a printed diet sheet in our whole life. For everybody, we ask you, what is it you eat? Then based on that, we make. Some people like kind of, bread for breakfast. That is what suits me. Some will say, I like muesli for breakfast. Very good. Some people say, no, my whole idli only is good for me. Yeah, you continue idli itself, that's good for you. So it all depends on you. For example, I have been taking for breakfast for the last 20 years only fruit. Fruit, a glass of milk. Now I have this 2 egg white. That's my breakfast. I've never taken idli, dosa, this. I love dosa. But I don't take, if I take sambar and dosa and everything, gastritis will come. I love coffee, but I can't drink it. If I drink coffee, I'll get gastritis. The moment I stop coffee, I'm doing fine. But I'm always tempted. I love that coffee. The aroma comes, I want to drink coffee. If I drink it, I'll get gastritis. So when my wife was there, she'll say, you want to suffer? Take your coffee, enjoy it, then suffer later, Then I know, yeah, it's not good for me. My body is not allowing me to take, even though I'm attracted to it, but I can't take it. So you know your body.
I know it's 6:35. We had a hard stop at 6:30.
Okay.
I'm just going to give you one more question. This person wrote via email as well as here.
Okay.
He's Ujjal, I think that's Ujjal who wrote in saying that he's suffering from constipation, severe constipation.
Constipation. Okay.
Yes. And what can he do? Because, that affects diabetic.
So something for all of you all for constipation, I can tell you, I found this out quite recently. Above 65, 70, I'd be surprised if 70% of you did not have constipation. I think it's very natural because the bowels get a little weaker with or without diabetes. The bowels get a little weaker. One secret for you for constipation is to increase your probiotic intake. If your gut microbes, after 60, 65, your gut microbes completely change. They become from the friendly bacteria that you have, they become unfriendly. The type of bacteria inside the stomach and the intestine completely changes. Simplest way to do it is yogurt. Okay, yogurt, dahi is very good. Take it every day, probably afternoon and night. You can have some dahi, but it's not powerful enough. So if you're still having constipation, in spite of that, you can take something like VSL3. This is a very nice probiotic. If you just take one every night, you just see after 2 weeks, you'll be nicely passing motion without any. This is not a laxative. It's not anything. Simply you're replacing the the good bacteria inside your body. They're actually live bacteria which come inside that capsule. You have to keep it in ice, take it home, and then take one blue capsule. Every night you just take one. You will find it works wonders. So that's a low-hanging fruit. It's called VSL3. 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 Okay. So that's a fantastic one which all of you can try it if you have constipation. You don't have anything, don't worry. You don't need to take it. One banana at night. can help. Even if you're having diabetes, don't worry. You can have one banana. And if you have that, sometimes that is enough. Take more fiber, take more vegetables. Those things also help to increase the bulk of the stool. Then it'll pass very easily. So constipation is something that 70% of old people have. And as you grow older, almost 100% will have it. That's something which we can look after. If still you're constipated, then we rule out things like thyroid and so on, low thyroid. If that is also ruled out, then you need to take some laxative or something. Your doctor will be able to tell you what to do.
Okay, great, doctor. We have a lot of questions coming in about your center in Bangalore. Would you like to tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, so we have, so as I said, we have 5 branches in Bangalore. The central one is in Indiranagar. Then we have one in JP Nagar, we have one in Malleshwaram, we have one in Whitefield, and we have one in Basavanagudi. All the 5 are manned by people whom I have trained. So the way it works is that every one of them are my students. So they work with me for 1 year, 2 years, 2 years, generally for 2 years. Unless they are highly qualified already, they're already MD, they're already trained in diabetes, then they come, they still get 1 or 2 months with me in our methods. The lab is central in the sense from Chennai, from Gopalapuram, all the entire lab, the values, standardization, everything is done. We don't outsource it, we do it ourselves. Everything is ours. We don't have any franchisee or anything. It's completely owned by us. That means the entire onus of that maintaining quality is mine. Okay, when I say me, it's my team. My daughter is now the managing director, Anjana. My son-in-law is also a diabetologist, but we have a COO, we have head of lab, we have head of quality, we are ISO 9000 certified, we are NABH certified, we are NABL certified, we are CAP certified, we are ICMR center, we are WHO center. You name it, everything. We have every association the world has given us recognitions. So we try to maintain that quality. It's one electronic records, by the way. If you go to Bangalore, I can get the records here on my computer here, I can get it. You can get all the reports. Everything is through a central computer. So you develop the system one by one by one. I start with one branch, then next one, next one, next one. So now we have grown like that. The other thing I want to tell you is pneumococcal and influenza vaccination. I think every one of you, whether you have diabetes or not, please take it. Okay, it can protect you against COVID also, because influenza is also a coronavirus, if you remember. So this is a novel coronavirus and old coronavirus. The new coronavirus, when the vaccine is going to come, we don't know. Already there have been some side effects after it. But influenza and pneumococcal, of course, with diabetes, everybody should take it. But I think above 60, everybody should take it. And that's it. Once you take the pneumococcal one, you're protected from pneumonia for your whole life. And if you take it for influenza, 1 year you're protected. Then maybe after a year, you can think of the next influenza shot. But pneumococcal is only once. Just take it once. Rest of your lifetime, you won't get pneumonia. And pneumonia is a common cause of death in old age. So if the one disease, you're totally eliminated. No side effects. I've taken it. Both of them I've taken.
Thank you so much. Thanks everyone for being here today. I hope you enjoyed this session. Thank you again, doctor.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Great second session.